tutorial on hammock camping. Seems to be pretty popular anymore. I've been doing it myself for about 5 years. There's no right way or wrong way to do it. Everybody needs to find their own hang, but there is a few little tips and tricks that I've learned over the years that will help shorten the learning curve a bit and maybe get you out there in the hammock. Alright, first thing you need to know about hammock camping is you need some place to hang the hammock, which usually means trees. There is different variations. I actually built a frame that I can take car camping to hang my hammock in case there's no trees around, but pretty much you're going to be looking for trees. First thing you do, you find some trees that are close enough, you need to look up. Make sure the tree is alive for starters. You don't want to hang from a dead tree. You want to look up, make sure there's no dead branches hanging above it, anything that the wind might blow off on you. Once you've established that, then it's just a matter of finding two trees that are close enough together or far enough apart to get your hammock in. So let's get set up and go take it from there. First thing you're going to need is a hammock. You can buy them for as cheap as $20 at Walmart, and you can spend as much as $150 on some designs. This particular model is my favorite. It's an Eagle Nest Outfitters double. It's actually a double nest. It's designed for two people. I only got it because I'm a pretty tall guy, and because it's wider, it gives me more sleeping area. I'll get into that after we get set up a little bit more. But then you also need something to hang your hammock with. I personally like these. They're the Alto suspension system. It's like a daisy chain. About every 3 inches it's got a loop in it. Carabiners, quick flips right in. Makes it really easy to adjust the hammock up, down level, get your perfect hang that way. You don't have to use those. You can just tie off with rope, make loops, whatever you want to do. I like to hang rather high. I like to get them up as far as I can reach because it gives me a little bit more of a dip in the hammock, and I'll explain why I like that. The next part about hammock camping is how high do you hang your hammock? Well, you don't want to hang it too high. Ideally, when you're sitting in your hammock, your feet should be on the ground pretty much like you're sitting in a chair. This way it's easy to cook, it's easy to get in and out of the hammock, put your shoes on. That's kind of a standard. You can raise it up, lower it a little bit, whatever you desire. But that's just a good starting place. Now, when I first started hammock camping, what I used to do, I would tie these off and just get that thing as straight and tight as I could, thinking that would make me more level. And it doesn't. What actually happens is it forces you to lay straight in the hammock, and then you're in that banana shape. It's comfortable for a little while. At least to me, after about 2 hours laying in a hammock like that, my legs would hurt, go to sleep, my neck would ache. It wasn't comfortable. I almost gave up hammock camping. Well, I was reading somewhere online that the proper way to hang a hammock is with slack. You put slack in the hammock so it sags, then instead of sleeping straight this way, you sleep kitty corner in it. And it makes it a lot more level, and it's definitely way more comfortable. But that's the reasoning behind the extra slack. Everybody's different. Don't let anybody tell you have to hang this way or that way. It just takes experimenting to find out how much tension you want in your hammock. Now I'll show you what I use for my rainfly setup. This is my Pro Tarp. It's very lightweight, compact, it packs down really small. It offers really good weather coverage, and depending on your weather you can raise it if it's hot out. If you've got a storm coming, you can lower it. It does a really good job. It's very fast and easy to set up. It has these quick release guy outs on it that make it super fast. 90% of the time it's the only thing I really need for it, but I have a couple other setups I use. This is also, it can be a little bit expensive. I think this one runs about $75 or more. I got it used on eBay, so I saved a few bucks. I'm kind of cheap that way. But You don't have to use something like this custom built for it. You can use a plain old 10 by 10 tarp, which is what I'm going to set up next. There's a couple configurations you can use that with too. This is my preferred method for using a square tarp. I hang it corner to corner, kind of like a diamond fly, and that it requires only 2 stakes to guy it out. But in inclement weather, if it's really windy and stormy, I always tie more guy outs on, particularly on the side the wind's coming from. But this offers a lot of square footage underneath the tarp, so you do your cooking and keep your gear dry and stuff. I really like this configuration. It allows really good airflow even if it's raining. You can raise it, lower it for more protection. You can spin this and do your typical A-frame on it and lower it, and you'll get, that's probably about the best coverage you'll get for weather protection. But I really like this setup. It's easy. It only takes 2 guy outs, 2 tie outs on your trees. Gives you just kind of the best of both worlds. Get a lot of good airflow and stuff. But that's just another method that I use. I'm sure there's all kinds of configurations, different things you can do. A lot of people worry about water running down these straps and getting in the hammock, and that can be a little bit of an issue in real heavy rain, but I honestly haven't had much problem with it. I've been in a couple pretty good storms. I think part of it is my straps here actually hang down, so when the water runs down them, they run down this and drip off so I don't get anything in the hammock. Depending on what you're using, you can always tie a piece of string on that and hang it down, and then the water will tend to take the path of least resistance. Just a helpful tip. Now, one thing I always do, I always run a nice taut ridge line just right above the hammock. Comes in handy. You can hang things like your headlamp from it. You can dry clothes on it under your tarp even if it's raining outside. Hang your water bottle. Just comes in handy for a lot of things. Hammock camping has some benefits, especially in hot weather. You're up off the ground for starters. You get 360 degrees of air circulation. So even if the wind isn't blowing, you stay cooler. Right now it's really hot. You can tell I'm sweating pretty good, but if you were to camp in this hammock tonight, you probably wouldn't need a sleeping bag or anything. You'd stay nice and warm, or you'd be plenty warm. But one thing I've noticed is if the temperatures dip down to about 55 degrees, maybe a little cooler, you will get cold. And even if you've got a sleeping bag on, when you're laying in it, you crush the loft in the sleeping bag, and the bottom of you is going to get cold even though the top of you will be nice and warm. Some people build these underquilts for them for cooler weather. Now what I've found works really good for me, I just use one of these automobile window reflectors. It's a little bit noisy at first, but once you got it broke in, they stay pretty quiet. I just put it inside of it like that. That works good down, for me I've done it down to about 35-40 degrees and that. But if it gets any colder than that, you need a little bit more insulation. I just use one of these cheap blue foam pads from Walmart. I've tried using the Thermarests in them, and the Thermarests, although they're terrific when they're on a flat ground, don't work real well in a hammock. What happens is, no matter how much air you let out of it, your butt will push down in your heaviest part will push down in the center of it, force all the air to the ends, and they stiffen out really straight and hard, and it makes it really uncomfortable. That's what I like about this. I just roll that on there just like I did this. And what's great is it actually will cocoon around you. I've slept down to, I think it was about 9 degrees. Pretty cold winter day. But what happens is, when you lay on it, it conforms around you almost like a beer koozie. This works terrific. Doesn't take up much space. I swear by it. But the other benefit is, by keeping a pad like this with you, if you don't find a place to hang your hammock, you're going to end up on the ground. Well, without something to put on the ground, you've got no insulation on the ground or any comfort. So even though this is a minimal amount of comfort, it's still better than sleeping flat on the cold ground. Yeah, that works for me. I'm sure there's all kinds of other things you can do, but that's what I've tried and used and works pretty good for me. So there you have it. That's most of what I'm going to be able to. Now, hammock camping does have a couple of downfalls. One, you gotta have trees or someplace to hang it. If you don't, you're not going to be hanging. The other, and about the only other real issue I've ever had, is getting into a sleeping bag in a hammock can be kind of a pain in the butt. What I figured out works best for me, and I gotta take my hat off for this. I unzip the sleeping bag about 3/4 of the way, and put my head into the hood, grab the bag so I know what part's the bottom. I know I'm going to be laying in it like this. I'll grab it. Sit down. And if I'm laying this way, I just have to spin. And then I don't want to stick my boots in the bag, but then all you do is stick your feet in the bag, zip up, and you're good to go. If you just lay the sleeping bag in here like this, by the time you get spun this way, it's going to be under you and you're going to be fighting it left and fighting it right. That's just what I found works best for me. Not a real con so much, but just a trick that works for me. Well, there you have it. That's about all there is to hammock camping. Most important thing is to get out there and try it and get your own hang set up. Experiment a bit and figure out what works for you. It beats sleeping on the ground 100-fold, especially when you get a little bit older. There's like no pressure points or anything. Your hips don't get sore. I just love it. It might not be for everybody, but you won't know unless you get out there and try. Yep. Alright, well I think I'm just taking me a little bit of a nap here and enjoy the rest of my day. Thanks for watching.